A very good evening. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar, and what a show we have for you today. Complete value for your time. So we're going to start off by talking about whether banks are actually passing on the RBI directive to RBI allowance really to extend moratoriums of 3 months for all borrowers. That means give you some relief on your EMI, and should you take that option, we have two blockbuster interviews lined up. State Minister in the state of Telangana, K.T. Ramarao, will join us on the show up ahead, and I will also be speaking up ahead to Yoga Guru and Patanjali co-founder Baba Ramdev. So don't miss a minute of the show today. But let's begin with news you can use and something that's really important. It's March 31st today, the end of a financial year which has been incredibly painful for a lot of people. In fact, the quarter has been also very painful. What's worse is we don't know how the next financial year starting tomorrow is going to be. Is it going to be as bad or worse? We don't know right now. What the salaried middle class does know is that at least for 3 months there is a bit of relief with the deferment of EMIs. But is it an option you should take? What are the situations in which you should be taking up those options? And will banks really follow through? So tomorrow the new EMI cycle for the month of April starts. A lot of banks have sent out their customers messages that they're following this. A lot are still working out the modalities. Some banks are telling borrowers to opt out. That means they're giving everyone a blanket deferment of 3 months. And if you want to continue to pay, then you have to tell the bank that you want to opt out of the scheme. Some banks are doing the reverse. They're asking you to come in and opt in and tell the bank that you want this EMI relief. Though, is it a good idea? So we're going to take some of your questions first. On top of the show, I have with me two personal finance experts taking us through all of this. Harshvardhan Roongta and Gaurav Mashruwala will be taking your questions. So welcome to all of you. Mr. Roongta, let me begin by just getting your take. Even as we wait for more and more banks to really come and clarify and communicate to borrowers, is it a good idea to use this, and should banks have been a little quicker in this communication?
Well, Tamanna, if you look at the entire guidelines, it's in the form of suggesting to the banks and allowing them. So that's the word that has been used, that all the banks, financial institutions, housing finance companies, rural small banks, all the financial institutions, the RBI has allowed them to offer this moratorium. So what it simply means is that if an individual is facing certain kind of difficulty in terms of liquidity to pay his EMIs, the banks are allowed to offer a 3-month moratorium to them, which means that there will be an interest levied. So many people are under the impression that it's a waiver of interest. It's not a waiver of interest. It is just a deferment. So you may choose to opt in, as you've just introduced, saying some banks have asked the individuals to come forward themselves, and some are sending an option to the borrowers. So a borrower in this case may want to opt in to say that I want to take the benefit of the moratorium, and accordingly I will not pay EMIs for April and May. So ideally it is from the scheme is applicable from March, April, May, but I'm understanding that all the installments of March would have already been paid. So in that case, it is applicable for the next 2 months, which is April and May. So whether a person should take it or not is a separate question altogether, but this is purely an RBI allowing them to offer this moratorium. So a borrower should be very, very prudent and should exercise this option only in case they do not have liquidity.
Yeah. No, so the thing is, it's also the fear of what's coming next, right? So I've got people asking a lot of questions. Let me come to the questions right away. And yes, Harsh, you're absolutely right. RBI has allowed banks to give this option, but let's be honest, no banks really want to let go of interest payments and EMIs right now. It is something that they have been nudged to do, which is why we've seen the alacrity with which state banks have done it. Your private banks also coming on board, but your HFCs, your NBFCs are taking a little bit of time, but they will all eventually most likely come on board. Let me take a question. Venkat Krishnan Bala Subramanian has written into us saying, my Citibank personal loan is due tomorrow. while LIC home loan is due on 10th April. Both are via an ECS mode. By when will the moratorium be passed on to customers? Let me add on to this. In what circumstances should you opt for this? Mr. Roongta?
So Tamanna, very clearly, the idea is that the EMI is going to be debited tomorrow because the ECS mandate allows the bank to debit from your account. So if there is a balance in your account and you haven't opted in for this moratorium, or the bank has not got back to you as yet, be very sure that the debit will happen tomorrow. The issue is very clear. If you have the liquidity, I repeat, if you have the liquidity, please go ahead and make the payment. Do not try and believe that this is a waiver. Because if you do not pay your credit card bills on time, there will be an interest levied. There won't be a penalty levied for late payment, but there will be an interest levied to you. And credit card outstandings attract an interest of about 36 to 48%. So you really don't want to take this advantage unless you really require it. So my suggestion is that contact your lender and please ask them whether this has already been applicable. If not, then as and when they come forward and offer this facility to you, only that time can you take it.
The other thing is about wanting to shore up on cash at any one given point. Gaurav Mashruwala also joins us, and Gaurav, welcome. Great to have you on the show. I'm going to start by just tossing across Raghav Tripathi's question to you, because I want to get as many viewer questions in as possible. So Raghav Tripathi writes in, I have an EMI worth 11,000 rupees on my home loan. What happens with the interest during the 3-month moratorium? Will I have to pay extra interest on my principal amount? Gaurav?
To work is, look, he has an option of not paying EMI. Does not mean as of now there is any benefit given for not paying, which means his loan will get extended, and for that much longer period there will be interest. So there is no waiver of interest. He can defer paying if he does not have liquidity. This is not something which is interest free. And ideally, I think that he should check with his lender what is the exact implication. But I repeat, this is not interest free. There will be interest applicability, and it will continue. It just said for 3 months, if he does not pay EMI, it will not affect his creditability and other CIBIL and other scores.
But you know what, the way people are also approaching this, Gaurav, is that if you have a loan of a 8 or 10 year tenure, I'm talking about larger loans like your home loan, etc., and even if you have an additional interest payment of 3 months, would it then make sense to give yourself a bit of comfort? My sense is a lot of people may opt for this even if they have current liquidity, because they don't know what the future is going to shape up like.
Okay, Tamanna here. One is if they maintain contingency, then they can go ahead. Now, if they have that concern that they don't have the contingency, they can skip for 1 month, take a call. So let them skip April and then take a call in May. And then go back to lender and say, okay, I'm comfortable, I want to start paying. So if it's a mental anxiety, saying I don't have enough liquidity, or what if it gets extended, then go and take more benefit of this, but as soon as possible get back to repayment.
How would you look at this, Harsh? And let me bring to you another question as well from someone whose handle is Swing Singh, who says, is the moratorium applicable on my personal and car loan with Yes Bank? I'm assuming it is for all banks if the bank chooses to extend it. But if you can also answer the question, Harsh, about the uncertainty which people have. Maybe right now they can effectively pay this EMI, but they don't know if the income flows are going to be steady over the next few months. That's a question staring at a lot of people.
Yeah, so the first thing is, the first part of the question as he asked, whether it is applicable for personal loan and car loans. Yes, it is applicable, whether yes, but
All right, I think I've lost Harsh's feed. I'll try and get him back up. But Harsh was saying yes, it is absolutely applicable for personal and car loans. In fact, the next question is from Abhijit, who's asking about Tata Capital. Are they also giving it, or is it just restricted to banks? No, it's extended to NBFCs as well. So a whole host of financial institutions can extend this. But Gaurav, coming back to you on the uncertainty which faces people, does it make sense perhaps if there is a host of loans to take this moratorium for those with lower interest rates and use that time to pay off those loans with higher interest rates like credit cards, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely do that. You bang on target that if you have everything, if you have borrowed everywhere, ideally that should not have been the case, but now that you are in that situation, take the benefit on a lower interest rate loans and pay off something where there is more higher rate of interest. So if they have to take the benefit on, say, home loan or a car loan and pay off credit card bills, do that.
That's good advice there. Harsh, I've got you back on. You got cut off in the middle over there, but just the point you were making about, when I was asking you about the feeling of uncertainty which people have, they don't know if their incomes are going to be steady, but the EMI outflow will be. So people will have some mental peace if they have that cash supplement.
Yes, so I'm saying that you could, whether to opt or not, and you have that apprehension that I may have liquidity right now, but possible that maybe in 2 months from now or next month I don't know what is going to happen. So in that case, if you really want to be cautious, yes, you may take some time off and take 1 month for to begin with, and later on, of course, I mean, as and when the situation gets a little more clear, you may possibly try to restart paying those EMIs. You don't need to necessarily take the entire 3 months just because 3 months is available. Let me give you some figures here. You spoke about long-term loans like a housing loan that you have. So in case you have a 50 lakh outstanding as of today, and the interest charge on your housing loan is about 8%, your monthly interest component is about 33,000 rupees. So you need to be careful. So if you're deferring this for 3 months, there would be a lakh of rupees additional that you will need to pay. So I'm not discouraging people to not take the benefit, but just be very mindful that this is not a waiver, it is only deferment. So a 50 lakh outstanding loan at 8% is a 33,000 rupees, only the interest component for every month. If you're deferring for 3 months, a lakh is your additional liability which you will have to pay. So use it very cautiously and prudently. Do not just take it as a standard,
Is
benefit.
It clear, Harsh? Yeah. No, there are no free lunches. Absolutely, there's no free lunch over here. But Harsh, is it clear when this additional interest will be payable? At what point in the entire tenure of the loan?
Yes, so in case you have a 15-year loan, for example, and it was ending 15 years from now, if you choose to take the benefit of this moratorium, your loan will get extended to 15 years and 3 months. So not that after 3 months get over, you have to pay the entire 3 months in the 4th month coming now itself. It does not mean that. So your loan tenure gets extended by 3 months, and so in the 4th month, suppose you opted for this 3 months moratorium, at the end of 3 months, your EMI will start and you will pay only the 4th month EMI. You will not pay 3 plus the 4. And your loan period will get extended by 3 months. So very clearly, the interest is going to be accrued, and which you will need to pay over a period of your loan, and that will be about a lakh of rupees in a case of 50 lakhs of outstanding loan and 8% interest on that loan.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you're buying time from your bank, and it's something that maybe a lot of people will find comfort in. Just looking at the number of queries and inputs we got on this particular topic. So thank you so much, Harsh and Gaurav, for joining us and answering our viewer queries. Just before I wrap up this segment, a very interesting